It's a good idea to store your important personal or vital records and legal documents in your fire-resistant safe. However, something you may not have considered is storing your irreplaceable family histories, paper journals, photo albums, and genealogical records in your safe as well. For many family historians and genealogical researchers, having hard copies of records, documents, journals, and photographs is essential to accurate research and can provide a tangible physical link to the past. However, physical copies are very vulnerable to loss, damage, fire, and theft, so you should consider keeping these family treasures stored in a secure, fire-resistant safe or safe room with additional layers of fire protection inside. When working with these items, there are several things to take into consideration. You should handle these documents and photos as little as possible and work with digital copies as much as you can. Heat and humidity are murder on paper, books, photos, leather, and pretty much everything else you want to last. Librarians and archivists suggest a temperature-stable storage environment of between 50 and no more than 70 degrees. The lower the temperature, the better. Humidity should be kept between 30 to 50% maximum, which can be rather difficult in many places. A safe dehumidifier is a must and is highly recommended wherever you live. Prevent as much, if not all, UV and light exposure, as this will destroy just about anything. This is yet another reason why scanning your records and using the digital files is important for the item's longevity. Most modern scrapbooking materials are acid-free, but you should still be careful to ensure everything that comes into contact with your family treasures is free from acid or other harmful components. Bugs and insects thrive on cellulose and carbohydrates, which is why they love old books and photo albums. You may be concerned about bugs munching holes in your heirloom records, but typically if you keep the area clean and store your albums and records in a clean, humidity-controlled safe, this type of damage isn't an issue. Of course, if you store your records and documents inside a safe that doesn't have sufficient fire protection, you are risking a huge potential loss. All of Liberty's fire protection rated safes come with Polysol heat-activated door seals that expand to several times their original size to fill any gaps in the space around the door and help protect the interior contents against smoke and heat. In addition, most Liberty safes come with a cool pocket installed in the door panel, which will keep anything inside up to 50 degrees cooler during a fire. You can purchase additional cool pockets so you can add additional layers of heat protection for your important documents, family histories, old photos, and other family heirlooms while keeping them secure inside your safe. You may have noticed, even in the space of a few years, how photos may fade. Documents may become cracked, brittle, discolored, or otherwise damaged. It's important to scan these treasures while they're still in as good a shape as possible, and maintain online and offline backup systems so the information isn't lost. Now, the question is, how do you make digital copies of these various documents, pages, and photos? Scanners are very affordable. Some of these scanners can even read your old documents with a technology called optical character recognition. This does more than digitize your documents. It turns them into editable text documents rather than an image. For very fragile documents and photos, using a high-resolution camera to take a photograph of the item may be preferable to a scanner, since the scanners use powerful light to scan the item. If you have a lot of historical documents or even historical movies, you may want to find someone who can convert them into a digital format for you. Places like Scan Cafe allow you to mail your physical copies to them. They'll convert them and send them back to you. If putting your copies in the mail makes you uncomfortable, there are still many local shops that will convert your memories for you. In recent years, the cloud backup system has come into being and is gaining in popularity. This refers to keeping your files stored online by uploading them to a cloud-based server or service. Many people automatically back up their smartphone pictures to Apple's iCloud or Google Photos, among other services. Cloud-based storage has the advantage of not being localized and therefore is not under potential threat of loss from theft, fire, flood, or other disasters. Cloud-based backups are also very convenient, and you can access the files from any device from which you can log into your account and download the files. But the cloud isn't perfect. Since this data is stored on the internet, it's just as vulnerable to cyber attack as everything else on the internet. And we all know that even highly secure databases are occasionally breached and data compromised. We're not saying you shouldn't keep your precious documents, records, and photos backed up to the cloud. But you should also keep at least 2 local copies stored on external hard drives in addition to your main desktop or laptop computer. We recommend researching the best drives and prices that will work for you on your own. But we also recommend the websites newegg.com and bhphotovideo.com. Hard drives can and do fail though, which is the reason for the redundant copy as well as the cloud-based service. Depending on the type of genealogical records, documents, journals, and albums you have collected, you may easily fill up a common home safe and have items left over. You can buy an additional safe or maybe a vault door. Remember, just adding a vault door to a standard bedroom or storage room in your home doesn't actually add any additional fire or environmental protection. The best safe rooms are fortified with steel or hardened, reinforced concrete walls. Those will provide more protection than sheetrock and produce a full surrounding layer of security to match your vault door. Family is the most important thing in life to a lot of people. Protecting those memories is just as important, and using your humidity and temperature controlled fire protected safe is the best way to do that. That's all for this video. If you found this useful today, make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Stay safe out there, and catch you later.